Food allergies, they need a second look. So, what or who is the first thing you think of when you hear food allergies? Well, some classic examples could be Carl Wheezer from Jimmy Neutron.
Oh wait, are those the spicy ranch kind? My mom says I can't eat those.
Or maybe the reporter from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
You got cut, didn't you?
It's a scratch.
There's a problem with that though. Not only are these examples at the least 7 years old with almost nothing in recent memory to make food allergies relevant, but that's mainly because the consensus seems to be that food allergies just aren't that big a deal. People aren't having discussions about them, and while there are 1,006 conversations being held right now, food allergies doesn't seem to be one of them. And while the argument remains that food allergies are not an urgent issue, it may shock you with just how urgent it is. Child mortality rates are rising. Between 2004 and 2006, just under 10,000 children were admitted to hospitals due to problems involving food allergies. That may not seem like much now, but at the rate it's going, it's not looking good. And the same goes for the percentage of people with food allergies, as we've seen an increase of over 50% in the last decade. Now that it's reported that 12% of people in America have food allergies, the CDC have even weighed in, saying that it's a growing public health concern. 1 in every 14 kids now has allergies, and there are way too many examples of kids who have suffered from a deadly reaction, with most losing their lives. Meet Simon Katz, a young boy who was incredibly gifted and had a promising future ahead of him. He was living in Littleton, Colorado, and he was deathly allergic to peanuts.
And there are new details as well about the death of a 16-year-old after a high school bonfire. Simon Katz had a severe peanut allergy and died after unknowingly eating a treat made with peanut butter. Simon was a popular student at Chatfield High in Littleton.
16-year-old Simon Katz was a talented bass player, an emerging artist playing shows around the city and getting attention from musicians around the world.
He was like the most high energy person I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he was all over the place all the time. Like, that wasn't just like a stage presence thing.
Or once the reaction starts, how quickly it progresses really depends. It can be very quick, or it can take a little bit longer.
Earlier this year, he laid down tracks for an entire album. His band now says they'll work to finish it in his memory.
So many of these tragedies end the same way. They weren't able to get to their EpiPens on time because they were at school. Anaphylactic shock is when the body goes into overdrive, trying to expel something it thinks is a toxin when it's really just food. And the excess histamines can cause swelling of the eyes, face, or throat, which is what leads to death. And EpiPens administer something called epinephrine, which is essentially adrenaline, as a way to treat the symptoms until they get to a hospital where a doctor can administer antihistamines. EpiPens are lifesavers. With how expensive EpiPens are though, only a few states in America, such as North Carolina, have made it mandatory for schools to carry them. There's been efforts to relieve that cost, however, with programs like EpiPens for Schools cropping up. Parents have started to sigh with relief, knowing their children will be safe. There's an even bigger issue we haven't tackled yet, and that's treatment. Sure, we can keep the symptoms at bay, but what about a cure? Well, you'll be glad to know that there are entire hospitals dedicated to the study and establishment of a cure, such as Mount Sinai's Jaffe Institute in New York, with doctors like Dr. Carrie Nadeau. But a cure as of now is still far from our reach. So what do we do until then? Well, first, we need more education, more exposure. There needs to be a point when we start taking this issue more seriously, because these deaths are so easily preventable. We need more people to be aware.